How are you doing that?
So,
So there's the Mike answer, and then there's the Miss Sarraille answer.
so I struggle with balance, and it's funny that I wrote about it in the book. I'm in the pursuit of balance, but in the book really focuses on three pillars: physical, mental, and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And two stories here. One, I was at the peak of my physical condition at the end of my career in special operations, but I was spiritually and mentally bereft. And I had ignored two pillars to achieve, I don't want to say excellence, but to achieve a high level in this pillar at the cost of others. And that is the constant life balance. And again, it's different for different people of how do I maintain some semblance of balance in that physical, mental, and spiritual pillar. And in starting a company, we all know that you can choose usually three things. One is you got to choose the company. The second is family, and hopefully the third is health. And guess what I lost when I start companies? I stopped communicating with my tribe. Uh, that lessens. It has to. People are like, "Bro, how do you maintain relationships?" And the answer is, I don't. And my friends understand that. They're like, "Bro, you're busy with your companies. We totally get it. So if you can come up for air for one phone call every 3 months, uh, good." And even my dad has to call me and says, "Hey, call your mom." And I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad." And he's like, he started his own business. He understands. My mom understands. But I was interviewing Terrell Owens, the Hall of Famer, tight end, one of the best in the business. And I asked him the same question. He said, "Balance, balance. When you're trying to achieve greatness, there is no balance." And that hit me so hard as we were writing the book. And I'm like, maybe he's right. Is that when you set off on some great endeavor, something whether it's the front left wheel, the right, or the two rear, one of them is going to start to wobble, and you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to balance all these things at once. And I haven't met any human that can do something great and remain totally balanced. And we see that. You look at anything, they have to
Mm-hmm.
make sacrifices in certain areas of their life. My only piece of advice I've learned is there's got to be a point where, like, okay, I've got to put more effort and time into my family over here. Now that we've achieved it, I still want to continue down that path, but maybe a little less for the next 3 months so I can get this back to health over here. And that is the ultimate life question of how you handle that. And that's going to be a struggle for any human being unless you're completely devoid of emotion and totally narcissistic. Those people
Mm-hmm.
who are just emotionally dead to the world and completely narcissistic have one sole focus, and that's themselves. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that's not you, and I know that's not me. And you said it, Jordan. My wife is like, "Hey, love what you're doing. Need you at home, so figure it out." And that's
Yeah.
usually the cautionary warning of if I don't make changes, it's gonna become a little more uncomfortable in the home. And there's no qualms about who's the commander of this house. Uh, it's Jordan, and
Yeah.
I'm
Lindsay's mine.
yes, and that's
She.
for husbands and wives. That's usually the case. Even for the admirals and generals that we served with, they say, "Hey, that rank means nothing the second I step through that threshold. And if I'm not willing to contribute to that mission, then I'm going to hear it, and rightfully so. You should."
Yeah. Mike, I got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Um, how important is authenticity in leadership,
You
and how do you
want
maintain
people.
it?
You want people to show up as their authentic selves. And the culture and environment you create either allow that or disallow that. Willie Nelson said it best: "Let people be people. It's their greatest strength." And I've worked for some just authentic but different leaders where one leader was just not the most personable guy, but he knew his stuff and he cared. And you weren't going to have that relationship you have with a charismatic leader, but he cared, and he was just different. But you want people to show up as themselves, their full 100% authentic selves, because that's when you're going to get the most from them. And regardless of the culture you've built, you've got to make room for that. I mean, that's where diversity, equity, and inclusion came from. I think we've taken it in a negative direction, but that was the original intent. And the person who stands things like that up have the best of intent, and then guess what? The world grabs hold of it and warps it to their direction. But I don't care who you love, who you worship. Um, I want people to feel like they can be themselves, and if they can, then expect great things from them. But that definitely requires a culture of vulnerability.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, you've dropped some serious wisdom um, today. I, I, I respect the absolute hell out of you. I try not to swear on this one, but I do. Um, I appreciate you giving back to me and Jordan letting me steal your time occasionally.
She just
Um,
walked through the door. Time to
oh,
work.
did she?
Time for my second job. Um,
Um,
Go ahead.
I appreciate that, and for all the people that are listening in and had a chance to hear this, Mike Sarraille is a passionate, patriotic, dedicated veteran, doing great things post service and continuing to live the American dream. And you can catch him on Fox News, Newsmax, all of his different social media channels. Mike, I got one last question. I didn't ask you, but how can this network of Leaders Lead that I'm building, right? Like I'm building Leaders Lead. My podcast, I took my podcast startup cues from you. Um, by the way, thank you. What can we do to support you? How can we help you?
You know,
What can the viewers that are watching this do to support you?
reach out. I'm always hesitant to say go buy my product or hire me to come in and consult for your business. You're going to make that determination, but reach out. Um, you follow me, I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to learn something from you. And Zach, let me end with this. Uh, I'm so glad you did reach out to me, and your authenticity is through the roof. And I love your genuine nature. I love your character and your good heartedness. And you always ask one question: what can I do for you, rather than what you can do for me? And I'm not a coffee guru, and I love the guys over at Black Rifle Coffee. I love what they've built, and they are funny. And man, they are a business model for a lot of people to follow. But I will be a lifelong Pillars of Valor coffee buyer, not because of the product, because of who you are and what you stand for. And that's what we all strive to be as leaders, is to move people from being the compliant to the willing. As a leader in the military, people will follow you because of your rank. They have to. It's just the way the system's designed. But if you can transform them from just being compliant because I'm their boss to I'm going to follow you for who you are in what you do, then you're on the right path and you're a leader who's leading. And brother, you're doing that. I love you. And thank you for the opportunity to come on your podcast.
Man, Mike, I love you too, brother. And we say that to each other when we chat. And I'm thankful for God granting us the opportunity to connect and be a part of each other's lives because we're going to do great things.
You got this.
You
Whether you
got
believe it or
this.
not, you got this. You got this.
And I keep, for those of you who don't know, I tell Mike that we're going to work together. He just doesn't know it yet.
We are.
And
We are
yeah,
already. It'll
yep.
evolve.
And it's going to happen. So everybody, thanks for listening in. Zach Husted and my mentor and friend, Mike Sarraille. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much. Have a great night. And thanks for listening in to Leaders Lead.